Hi, I'm Dr. Naima Nefertiti, board certified nutritional scientist, and I am just super grateful to be here to be able to work with my clients and you and just give out, information, vital key information to eradicating lupus and all autoimmune disorders, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancers of all different types. This is the funny thing. A lot of us like been hearing about bacteria, but we never thought about bacteria being a parasite. Like it's just recent studies that pathologists been really putting this information out here about like the seriousness of parasites, like and using the term parasite so you can see it in your mind's eye as a little creature. Because when those parasites are looked at under the microscope, they look like little creatures from another planet. And so we don't really understand everything there is to know about parasites and bacteria, but we know a great deal. And there's a lot of research out there and a lot of studies. I've had the opportunity to study over 1,000 different types of parasites. Not all 1,000 of them are committed to memory. However, I do have a great memory bank of a lot of different parasites and what they do and how they wreak havoc in the body. After I eradicated myself of 6 different autoimmune disorders, 3 variations of lupus, fibromyalgia. I had rheumatoid arthritis. I had psoriasis. I had some form of eczema. I also had polysystematitis, which is a muscle eating degenerative um, autoimmune disorder. I was dealing with so many things, leaky gut. I mean, you name it, acid reflux. I had it. I was just going through it. And so, like, once I was like really down and on my deathbed, and I was told there was nothing else that could be done for me. I went to Stanford University School of Medicine and got certified as a nutritional scientist. That led me down a rabbit hole of like studying, really studying, going deep into nutrition, macronutrients, micronutrients, mitochondria, epigenetics, DNA restructuring, and yeah, you guessed it, parasites. I started studying and I was like, wait a minute, this parasite is attached to this? That makes sense. What if I eradicate the parasites? Now, there's a lot of healers out here saying, yes, just get you some clove and some wormwood and get you some black walnut husk. And that's great. That's great. It works, but it does not work on all parasites. Some parasites have evolved and they're very, very strong. The way they hide, the biofilm you got to get through, how they hide in the mitochondria, and knowing how to eradicate them out. I mean, it is an exact formula to eradicate certain parasites out that wreaks havoc in the bloodstream, in the body, in the mitochondria, in your cells, in your liver, in your lungs. I mean, for each type of parasite, there's a different type of kind of formula. And now the eradication detox program and protocol that I put people on, I always make sure that they go through an extensive parasite detox first. Because if the parasite is eating up your nutrients, then we can't get you nutrient dense. We cannot. And now you got to think about this too. Like your food, it only has about 35 or 40% of the nutrients. So then that's got to be supplemented with supplements. Okay. If you want to eradicate these diseases and disorders and you want to do it quickly, quickly. So that's the key. Now, there is a longer route. There is a longer route. Could take a years, could take years. However, if you want to get rid of and eradicate quickly, then you have to follow the protocol to the exact. I actually evaluate each specific person. I don't just throw people on a nutritional plan. I take them through an extensive, protocol where I go through their diet and I iron through it with a fine tooth comb and figure out what they eat, what they don't eat, what their stress levels like, what their childhood traumas are like, what their everyday schedule is like, so we can figure out food prepping, what medications they're on, what medications they've been on, how much water they drink, how much sleep they get. I mean, when I say I go through an extensive intake, I go through extensive intake. That's what I meant to say earlier when I said protocol. I meant to say intake. I take them through an extensive intake. And in that extensive intake, I comb through their life. I comb through their life because you have to. In order to like heal someone where they're not, feeling like they're healed and they go right back to the things that got them there, In the first place, we have to do some extensive work to keep them on track and keep them wanting to love themselves enough to stay on track, because it is an act of love. It's an act of love. It's an act of love to heal yourself, because it's not always easy to drink the bitters and eat the food and stay on task. That's not always easy. But if you love yourself enough and you go deep enough in love and go deep enough in the healing of your childhood wounds, then we figure out, why are we continuing to hurt ourselves? Why are we continuing to punish ourselves? Okay, so once we get that healed and we deal with that level, then we move on to the next levels. There's levels to it. A lot of times we do the levels simultaneously. We do them simultaneously as the person is detoxing and all of the parasites are coming up and out. Then we also work on the childhood trauma wounds, emotional, mental, spiritual, self-love, and all those things. Okay, so we also have a lot of like group detoxing, so people can come in and do group detoxing and ask questions. And, a lot of people can't afford the protocols. I make this thing very easy for our community. Okay. I make it affordable for our community. So if you cannot, then catch one of our 7-day detoxes. The only thing you got to do is get one packet of tea and come detox with the group, get information, ask questions. And then if you want to finish the remainder 3 weeks on your own, you could do so at that time. If you feel like you're good or your budget doesn't allow at that time, then you can stop there. But I'm here to tell you, I'm going to tell you this. This is what I know. People that really want to heal, they're going to figure out how to make it work, how to make it happen, because we pay for things every day we don't need. We buy food we don't need. We buy clothes we don't need, shoes we don't need. We go places that is not more important than our health. I can understand like going to have fun and entertainment. That's all part of healing. But however, is going to that show more important than your health? No, not no. Because when you down and out on that bed and you sick and you tired and you in pain, you'll be like, I'll trade my health for anything. How I know? I've been there. So, if you're serious, you will look into it. You will do your best, to make sure that you have everything that you need to follow protocol and stay on task. So I would say this. I am excited, to have you all, in the 7-day detox, in the protocols. Ask me questions, email me at Naima, Niemah, at womenofpowerempire.com. Or you can just go to the website, and that is womenofpowerempire.com, or you can find me on social media, Dr. A little dot, Naima Nefertiti, and that's all across mostly all social media platforms. And okay, you can make sure you sign up for any protocol by going on the website. There's the protocols are there, the teas are there, the capsules are there. Now, so talking about the capsules, there is, such thing as people really can't get their bitters down. Okay, it might be very tough in the beginning. So I created the capsules to ease that person into it, to start detoxing them, and then they can move on to the tea, because it's really important to get that tea on your tongue and in your mouth, because all of this part of your organ, it also has parasites: your mouth, your roof, your gums, your throat, your lymph nodes. And as the tea is going down, it's eradicating quite quickly. So we want to get that in your bloodstream and get that in your system and get you used to doing the bitters. You do the sweet, you do the savory, but bitters is a part of that. Triad. You need all three. You need all three. You can do your sweet, that's your fruit. You're doing your savory, that's your spices, and your highly infused spices. And then you need your bitters. The bitters help with all types of things, addictions to all types of things, alcohol, you name it. I'm not going to go into it too deep, because before I do that, I need to speak to the individual person. However, it does absolutely help with addictions. Food addiction is the biggest addiction. Sugar addiction is the big addiction. Dairy addiction is the big addiction. Let's get into sugar. Sugar, which is in almost everything. When you read labels, you're gonna find sugar in almost you're gonna find it in almost everything. I know a lot of times when I do my intakes with my clients, I'll say, how is your sugar intake? Oh, I don't eat sweets. I don't eat cookies, candy, cakes, and things. But how much sugar was in that juice you drank? How much sugar was in that when you use your salad dressings? You got to check that. That has sugar. What about the sugar in the canned foods you use? Because they use a lot of sugar for preserving food. What about the sugar that's in the bread? What about the reoccurring sugar that's in your potatoes, your baked potatoes, non-organic or organic? What about that? What about the sugar that's in the waffle you ate or the pancake you ate? You're like, well, I didn't put no syrup on it. Okay, but still read the label in the pancakes. Unless you made it totally and completely from scratch, certain things still turns into a reoccurring sugar. White flour, white bread, sugar, period, of any kind. Well, I use cane sugar. Sugar is still sugar, feeds parasites. Well, I use agave, still feed parasites. I'm just going to keep it 100. I know it sounds like it could be very intense. However, there are things. That's why you come to the group detoxes. That's why you get your protocol. So you can learn more and get educated more on what doesn't feed the parasites. So during your 4 weeks of your detox protocol, you are starving the parasites. And then after we get them all eradicated, get your taste buds more acclimated to eating healthier foods, then we start on your transformation plan. But during those 4 weeks of cleansing and eradicating, you're gonna feel like $1,000,000. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel amazing. No more parasites interrupting your thinking, okay? Because plasma, that's what it does. Go in there, snip, 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 and rewire to get you to think, feel, eat, and be around who it wants you to be around to preserve its own life and its baby's lives and the lives of it. And you being the host, it needs you to think a certain way, eat a certain way so it can stay in your bloodstream. Okay, so what about those the red blood flukes, the ones they clamp into your blood vessels and they drinking up sucking up your nutrients. They're doing that. And then certain tapeworms do the same, wrap around your intestines 2 and 3 and 4 times. They're eating up nutrients and doing that, disrupting your gut microbiome, putting holes in your intestines. And now we dealing with leaky gut that won't heal. We understand why I'm doing all the things, not understanding why it won't heal. Overgrowth of candida, same thing. We're wondering why I'm doing the things it's not healing. Then we got to check every single label every single time to make sure we're not feeding the parasites. Okay, sugar is the biggest addiction. Sugar is only one molecule away from heroin. That's right, one molecule, only one. So basically, it is on the same frequency as heroin and crack cocaine. Just think about that. So when you're ready and you're excited, come on through. Just link with me. Once again, Dr. Naima Nefertiti, nutritional scientist, mitochondria, expert, and the eradicator.